Okay guys, welcome back to Timberline Tactical. We have been crazy busy, so I appreciate y'all watching this. Let's talk about eye dominance issues. Okay, so the thing that comes up is people want to, they're right-handed, left eye dominant, left-handed, right eye dominant, and they have this thing where they kind of cock their heads all over the place, and there's a lot of problems with this. So let's kind of dive into these one by one. Before we dive into that, I do want to say this is specific to pistol, to combat pistol. I'm not talking about bullseye shooting. I'm not talking about shotguns. I'm not talking about rifles. I'm talking about combat pistol use only, okay? This is what I care about. And this is what I use for competition too, just so you know. So it does work for competition too. Okay, so first thing that I want you to do is I want you to realize that there's very little displacement from the rest of my body on a left versus a right hand dominant grip, right? Right hand, left hand, very little displacement. My face back here was still hidden on the camera for both grips, made very little difference. So if I'm gonna go right-handed, or let's actually do left-handed, if I'm gonna do left-handed, right eye dominant, all I have to do is move my head just a little bit. Now let me drop this pistol down. See, my head is still really not that far out. I've moved it, what is that, about 1.5 inches? That's all I had to move my head. So I'm not having to cock my head way over like you see people doing with this old stupid teacup saucer grip that you see in the movies. Not doing any of that. All I'm doing is I have to move my head, and this becomes part of my natural draw stroke. So if I'm left-handed and I punch out, immediately move my head over. Okay? Now I want you to think about something. It's very easy for me to make myself a reference point. Okay? My reference point can be my chin to my shoulder. Boom. Okay? Now I drop my gun down. I'm right there. Chin to shoulder, there's my reference point. So find that reference point so that your head goes to the same place every single time. That is how you get to be a competent defensive pistol shooter, is finding those tricks, those reference points, but putting I said my head, I meant my chin to my shoulder. Chin to shoulder, did I say that? I can't remember. Whatever. Chin to shoulder is what I meant. So right here, I'm meshing up with my shoulder, and that gets my right eye behind it. Be the exact opposite. If I'm doing right-handed, left eye dominant, I'm right-handed, right eye dominant, so I don't have to worry about it. We're not all built the same. We're not all created equal. Now, the next thing that we run into is we run into people that can't seem to close an eye while they're shooting. And that's okay, because you should be leaving both your eyes open. Okay, so ignore that, leave your eyes open. You want to make sure that you can see, that you have full peripheral vision. And the reality of it is that in a defensive situation, your adrenaline is going to be running so much, you're not going to have the wherewithal to close an eye. I just don't buy into it. It's not because of lack of dexterity or anything like that. It's because you're going to be moving so fast to try to get the gun out there and get it on target that you're not going to be focused on closing an eye. So practice shooting with both eyes open. You have to practice this a little bit to get the fundamentals of seeing the target. Now, what does our sight alignment actually look like? Well, what the NRA and competition and everybody has taught for years and years and years is that we should have our focus on our front sight, our rear sight should be slightly blurry, and our target should be slightly blurry. I'm gonna tell you something a little bit different, and I'm gonna tell you why. What ends up happening in an incident where you actually have to use your firearm in self-defense is you will draw out and you will be focused on what? You'll be focused on that bad guy. So you're gonna focus, and now all of a sudden you're having to stop focusing on that bad guy, move your focus to the sights, pull my trigger, and at that point in time, I've wasted time in there, but also I've had to correct myself from doing something that my body naturally wants to do. So let's change this up a little bit. Let's change the way that we do things. Instead of focusing on my front sight, I'm actually gonna focus on my target. So my front sight's gonna be slightly blurry, but not terribly blurry, but I'm focusing on my target. Boom, I'm right there. And then I don't have to readjust and all I'm doing is lining up the sights in my peripheral. Now, let's add to this one more step that actually makes this make a little bit more sense and brings us wholly around and all together. When you look at a forest, do you see the forest or do you see the tree, right? We look at the forest. And that's what I want you to think of when you look down the front sight, the rear sight, and the target. It's a forest. You're focusing on all three things. So you're looking at the whole forest, not one individual tree. So change your perspective a little bit on this to where you say, oh, I can only focus on one thing at a time. Very true. I'm not asking you really to focus on anything. I'm asking you to look at the whole forest. The forest includes target, front sight, rear sight, engage. Okay? So guys, with that being said, I'm gonna let y'all go. I just want to talk about this really quick because this is an issue that we run into a lot. And I want this video, actually, I'm gonna start sending this video out to our classes before they go and engage with their targets and actually come out here to work on their firing fundamentals. I want them to figure out their sight alignment, or their sight picture, what this all should look like, and how to actually focus their firearms. So if you do not know, before we end this, if you do not certain on your dominant eye, it's very simple. Pick a point, focus on it through your hands like this, and then bring it right back to your eye. It'll come back to the eye that's dominant. If I bring it back to my left eye, I lose vision, right? And so I want to bring it right back to where that remains a focal point the entire time. That's how you determine your dominant eye. So don't worry so much about coming to a class. If you can't figure it out, we'll do it here. But left, right-handed, there are differences in the way that you train for both people. There are differences in the way that you train for right eye dominant and left eye dominant. So I just want y'all to realize that. We will catch y'all later. I really appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so, and we'll see y'all in the next one.